You are watching Wide Field with Vivian Birchall. This is Wide Field.
Welcome to Wide Field. I'm Vivian Kobusingye Birchall, your host. Today, I'm honored to host two officers, Detective Mike Eracleo and Detective Keith Campbell from our local Acton Police Department to share their work experience with us. To start, I will let each of the detectives introduce themselves and tell us what they do in the public. Welcome, Detective Mike and Detective Keith.
Thank you for having us.
All right.
I can start, Mike, if you want. My name's Keith Campbell. I'm a detective here at the Acton Police Department. Currently, I'm a school resource officer, so that encompasses me working at the school. I have an office at the high school. I also cover the junior high. We actually have three school resource officers. Our other daytime school resource officer is Tyler Russell. He works at the elementary schools as well as our two alternative high schools. And then on the evening shift, we have Detective Luke Penny, who comes in to work the evening shift, all the events at the schools. So I've been a police officer here since 1998. That's when I started as a dispatcher. Went to the police academy in the year 2000, and I became the youth officer here in 2004. So I've been at this a pretty long time. So love my job. I love working at the schools, and love working with the youth of the community.
Yeah, thanks, Keith. And myself, Michael Eracleo here, Acton PD. So I'm a detective with our family service unit. A little bit about me is it's my 15th year here with Acton. I did 9 years in patrol, 6 years now as a detective. So my last 5 years, I was actually where Officer Tyler Russell is. I was the school resource officer for elementary and the two alternative high schools here in town. And over the last year and a half now, we designed this new position called the Family Service Detective, and that's my new role, which currently involves domestic violence, mental health, elder services, and civil rights officer.
Welcome again. And to start, Detective Keith, what has been your journey to law enforcement, or what was your journey to law enforcement?
Well, I graduated from Acton Boxborough in 1993, University of Massachusetts in 1997, and then always had a vision of working for the Acton Police, and I was lucky enough to get an opportunity to become a 911 dispatcher in 1998, and then was able to become a police officer in 2000. It's a little bit strange. Nobody in my family is a police officer. My father was a little, kind of off about it initially. I think he was a little nervous, but it's all worked out, and enjoy working for the town. I always wanted a job that was that presented something different every day, and that's what I found myself in. So it's been great so far.
Thank you, Detective Mike.
Yeah, so my journey began in Westford, Massachusetts, the next town over. So my parents immigrated from Sicily, both of them, when they were in their mid-teens, and my father got a career at Fort Devens here locally in Air Shirley. So we grew up in Westford, and I went off from Westford Academy and went directly into the Marine Corps, and I did 4 years with them. And when I returned home, I was an EMT down in the Boston area, working on the ambulance. Went to college as well. I'm currently still doing my studies and master's degree in criminal justice.
So to each of you, what drives your passion for your work?
For me, initially in 2004, the lieutenant at the time said, "Hey, how would you like to be the youth officer?" And I said, "I have no idea what that even encompasses. I'm not even sure I would be any good at that." And I started working with the schools, the teachers, the staff at each school, and the principals, and then the students. And it's unbelievable. It's such a great opportunity for me to be a part of a community of educators and students, and get to know the students and be an asset to the school if they need help, as well as to the students. And it's been great. I've had a couple opportunities to do something else within the department, I always kind of stick it out here, and kind of it's pretty long tenure to be at this job for 14 years, but or 16 years now. But it's definitely something I'm passionate about and enjoy it every day. So.
And as for me, I mean, it's really difficult to find a position better than Keith's. Working at the school for 5 years, it's daily that you have involvement in people's lives. It's daily that you see the kids. I mean, you watch the kids go from K to 12th graders. Keith's been long enough to have seen that journey with some of the students here in town, and that just in itself, it just fires that passion within you to see these kids develop, to know that you are part of their life in some way, shape, or form. And then the passion I have with my new position is that now I'm dealing with people in crisis almost on a daily basis, and a lot of my family have gone through crisis on their own, and that's kind of where I started learning ways to work within that, and also helping myself along the way. So now that focus is just on more the adult community rather than children, but working with families to me is, when we walk into this police position and the chief will ask us, why do you want to be a police officer? It's the number one question on every intro examination. And you say you want to help people. And then when you actually get a chance to do that and see that your help actually, makes people's lives better, and you actually see the outcome in real time, it just refuels that passion every day.
First of all, I'm amazed by how much experience you guys have with community work, with students, with different factions of the community. Which brings me to my next question. In June, I hosted a panel with mostly local Acton Boxborough youth. What was your takeaway from that interview? And how did it impact you as a police officer and as people with families?
Well, I did view it. I know actually several of the students that were in the video, and it was enlightening for me to actually, you can do your best to try and empathize with people's perspective, but when you don't know all that's going on and the impact that you might be having on their day-to-day operations at school without knowing it, it was definitely eye-opening. But I'm more than always willing to sit down and talk, and let's have a conversation about what might potentially be good about what I do and what might not be. We're always learning on the job as police officers, and so I'm by no means an expert, but I'm more than willing to have that conversation. And like I said, I know the girls that were several of the girls that were in the video, and have a good rapport with them, and be more than willing to sit down and have further conversation about it. But yeah, we can always take on more learning ourselves too.
Thank you. We'll make it happen. Detective Mike?
Yeah, the takeaway from the panel for me was, we just want to continue to strive to make connections with youth. And sometimes when we see that disconnection, we want to sit there and say, what can we do differently? Which ways can we connect better? How can we become resourceful? We don't want to be seen as a threat. We want to, build that bridge every day. And I think oftentimes, Keith and I will sit with students, and they tend to realize, at least it seems to me, that yes, they may have this implicit bias. They may have grown up with life experiences, maybe not related to Acton. Maybe they come from a different area. Maybe they had a different experience with a different officer. But I think when they sit down with us, what we hope to achieve is that they see how similar we are, rather than not alike at all. So it's to me, watching that was just saying, let's continue this. Let's sit down with the youth. Let's talk to them. Let's have these platforms like we're having now. And Keith's going to be in the school every day, and we have an officer in all the elementary schools as well. So it's day to day. We want to just continue that relationship.
Yeah, one of the things that one of the things that I'm most happy about is that a few years ago, the principal at the high school, Larry Dory, said, you really need a dedicated space in our building, and he went out of his way to get me an office right in the main lobby, and I have an open door, and kids can come in all the time, and it's great. Kids come in, sometimes it's just to chat about how their day's going. Other times it's to talk about something that they might need help with. So I always want to be available. I always wanted to open myself up to help in any way. So.
Yeah, this warms up my heart. Of course, as a parent, I have children in this school system. They're still younger, but still, I hope they will be in the school system for quite a while. But also as a person who has struggled with the fear of law enforcement. Not that I've never had any negative experiences with them, but I've shared with Detective Eracleo before about my fear and how I have really worked hard to get over it. And I briefly told you before I came. So it does mean a lot to have officers like yourself who are willing to, first of all, listen to some of these fears or genuine feelings that different people feel, and that you have open doors. And I hope whoever, everyone who is out there listens to this call, to this open door call, and actually takes up on your services. Conversations on race have been really divisive, both locally and nationally. What are some of the thoughts you have about building trust between law enforcement and the Black community or communities of color or the different diverse communities in Acton?
Right. Well, I think the key there is empathy and compassion in situations that, in any situation, no matter the race. I think we, as police officers, we're coming in as an authority, and not everybody responds the same way into that. So whatever we can do to build bridges within the community, I take every opportunity I can to work with kids outside of my role as a police officer. So whether that's, I coach 3 different teams, 3 different seasons throughout the year. We try to take on as many, high school interns and job shadows so people can learn about what we do. And then we're in that opportunity, we're going to be able to learn from them and see what their fears might be, what their experiences might be, and how can we improve upon the work we're doing to make the community feel safer around us. We don't want anybody to feel as though they can't look to us for help. I mean, that's certainly, Mike said it before, that's why we're here. We're here to help people. That's why we took the job. So we want to make sure that everybody feels, free enough and safe enough to come and ask us for help if needed.
Mm-hmm. And that's for me. I mean, we value trust. We value empathy. We value culture. And I think every day we're doing our best to try to understand and learn. We're a very, very diverse town. And the wonderful part of that is that we get to understand, different upbringings, different nationalities, different cultures. I mean, to us, it's a beautiful blend of society. And, Keith and I continue to sit down and meet, and that's what we really want to do. I mean, we want to trust you, and we hope that you trust us. And we'll do whatever we can not for you to think that you cannot trust us. If there's ever an issue, we have an open door policy. You can come and talk to me. You can email me. You can call me. You can ask me to sit down and meet for coffee. We can go out for lunch. There's nothing that I'm going to say, no, thank you, I don't want to meet with you, regardless of your past, regardless of your history, regardless of your criminal record, if you have one as an adult. We're looking to sit down and meet with anyone who's maybe either fears police, doesn't understand police, sees what's going on in the media, and says, is that our police? Is that Acton PD? And I'm going to safely say, no, it's not us.
Thank you. Thanks for that open invitation to coffee. Can we have coffee tomorrow?
Absolutely.
Anyway, more seriously, it's really, again, thank you to both of you for that open door policy. We appreciate that. Are there any particular events that the Acton Police Department is organizing to engage with the community?
Yeah, I think we did have some. We've had a lot of stuff on the slate, but with COVID, it's been a little bit more difficult. So we're trying to find more, unique ways to get that, to get our message across. This being another avenue for us. Again, thank you for having us, because in this environment, it's tough to get those community events that you want to do without taking all the safety precautions into place. So.
Yeah, I believe last year we were really ramping up. I mean, we came on social media. We have a Facebook page. So we were showing any events we could do, whether it was, recently we had driven by an assisted living facility, and we have a therapy dog now here at Acton PD. And so, we would drive by and wave through the windows to some of the senior citizens that reside there. And the same thing we're doing, Java with the town manager, we call it Java with John. Those are things that are run through the senior center. I work closely with them as well. But Coffee with a Cop is, even though we joked about it recently, that was an event that we did several times last year. And naturally, COVID puts a halt on those measures for safeguard reasons. But as soon as this clears up, we're hoping to be right out there in the public again. And those will be advertised on our Facebook page as far as Acton Police, Town of Acton Police. And that's how you can kind of track where we are and where we're going. And we hope more and more people came out. They started to come out in good size, groups towards the end of last year, but naturally in March things came to a halt.
Yeah, one of the things we were able to pull off in the summer was a youth academy that myself and then our other two school resource officers were able to do, and that was 12 kids that came out and learned about what police officers do and all the aspects of our job, from investigations to what it looks like to pull over a car. So any opportunity we can get to educate the public on what we do, we're gonna jump at that. And I know Citizens Police Academy is another option that we'll do for people that want to come in and learn about what we do.
If I just may add one last thing on that topic, is if anyone were to watch this and said, you know what, I wouldn't mind having a police officer at our event, just reach out. We'd love to be there. We have, like I said, we have youth guys, we have juvenile guys, we have, different people run different jobs. But if, you want us to do a presentation, crime scene or a fingerprint, or just have, conversation with police, we welcome that.
Acton PD and several other area departments share a social worker. And do you know if this has reduced repeat 911 calls about social issues? And do you have any thoughts about the impact of having a dedicated police social worker?
Sure. I'll probably wouldn't mind answering that first. So our jail diversion program called JDP, and how that works is about 5 years ago, we came across a grant for 9 local agencies that, kind of funnel into the Concord District Court. Those agencies, through Elliott Behavioral Health Center, were able to hire a clinician or a social worker to work within the departments. Acton was lucky that we were fortunate enough to have her come in basically every Wednesday. Her name is Mackenzie Diesick. So prior to that, we had Aaliyah Turan-Burrell. Some of you guys may be familiar with her for the outreach that we do. Mackenzie comes in once a week, and her and I sit down and go over all the reports. If there's any home visits we need to make, that's basically the design of the program. She'll call daily, and so every report that funnels up to us, anything involving domestic violence, elder services, civil rights, mental health, Keith will handle basically all the juvenile calls from anyone under 18 or in our school system, and anything past that. Sometimes we work together naturally, but the social worker and I will go over the calls. Any overdoses, we'll respond within 24 hours. So we have this protocol and policy set up. Basically having that social worker and police work together. Safety is paramount to us. And these calls can sometimes not be so safe, especially when someone's in crisis. Mental health crisis, we understand, can be super dangerous. And just having social workers go out on their own when they're not trained to do that, or have the tools on their tool belt, so to speak, to be out there, is not something, a predicament we want to put them in. So Mackenzie and I, we speak daily, and that's how we kind of go over what calls. And she'll say, I'll make these calls, I'll make these referrals. And the system set up is that we just want to touch base to let someone know there's some resources out there. The referral could be as simple as, please call Laura Ducharme. She's our town service coordinator. And we start to kind of find out, like, what's the root of the problem. Yes, you may be using substances, but how could you get off those substances if you were willing to? Oftentimes you have to go all the way back to the fact that maybe they just don't have a driver's license to be able to drive to get some help, to get some assistance. Maybe they don't have enough food, enough nourishment to be able to continue day-to-day operations. Or what if they're not signed up for, say, Mass Health, and they don't even have a program that could get them into a bed at a detox? So that's kind of what we're doing with the social work aspect. And once again, it's called, jail diversion program. And that's what we're doing. We're taking people that are in crisis and diverting them from going to jail. We've learned as police officers that you can't arrest your way out of the situation of mental crisis here in the United States, especially in Acton. So we're just going to be on the front lines, banging on doors, trying to help people out. Officer Mike, Detective Mike, however I can help you, whatever you need, family members, even if they're not in our town, we're going to connect you to somebody out there. So it's such an important aspect of my job specifically, because that's what I'm doing day in, day out. And I love that. That's the passion I see. I'm going to find someone in crisis and do whatever I can to let them know, police are a resource. We may have been involved in an arrest with you yesterday, and I understand that that's a difficult situation. Now you're seeing a badge again right in front of your door. But I'm here to say, what can we do to help you? And maybe we can talk about not going to court, and maybe we can talk about not having charges. But as in order to get to that end zone, what can we do at the first yard line? What can we do at the second yard line? And that's really what the program in a nutshell. So I'm very proud of it. Acton is probably the busiest town out of the 9 that enter Concord District Court. And I think it's because the awareness of our officers. We've all been trained in mental health first aid. Almost all the department is trained in crisis intervention. So we're sitting there and understanding, what kind of call are we going to? Is it a medical call? Is it a mental health call? Is it a domestic call? And a lot of times they interlap, and we have to sit there and say, what are we really dealing with? If we arrest this person, yes, we'll make the scene safe, but is it the best avenue for that person? And we are finding out through training and through discussions with social workers and clinicians throughout that, an alternative might be better. Maybe we send them in for an eval, a mental health eval, instead of bringing them back to the cell. Some things were mandatory by law, and I hope people understand that an arrest must be made. But even if so, we can divert that post-arraignment to say, let's get you some help instead.
Just to piggyback on that, Mike, at the schools, we have such a positive relationship with the school. So anytime, like Mike said, a kid who's in the school system, let's say we went to that house the night before and something, that family was in crisis. We're gonna make sure the school knows about that child, so that any services that the school can provide, we're gonna get right on that, because traumatic situations can have a lasting effect, especially on young people, and we want to get ahead of that as quickly as possible. And I think the relationships that we've built with the school over the years is instrumental to that. So if I have a family, I'll call that principal or assistant principal the next morning, say, hey, here's what we got, just so you're aware, and they'll get that student services that may be absolutely essential given the trauma that may have taken place. So.
Thank you for that update. We really need, we needed it. We need this information because oftentimes we do not know what goes on into your day-to-day work, especially when it comes to mental health cases and other social issues that we usually just look on the surface at. And there are so many layers to it. So thank you for that information. Closely related, what are some of the challenges you face as police officers that oftentimes we civilians, for lack of a better word, are not aware of?
Well, I think there's a lot of unknown, like I said, there could be family dynamics that people might not be aware of. Mike talked about, trying to prevent that person from, maybe we arrested that person once. How do we keep them from getting arrested again? And they might not, no matter how much help we try to give them, they may not be in a place to accept that assistance. So, that struggle can be prolonged. But, Mike's doing a great job with Mackenzie and trying to get out there and get ahead of that, so that we're not dealing with the same person over and over and having that relationship deteriorate because, here come the police again. I'm going to have to go through something again, where we can turn it around and say, hey, let's get you some help. But not everybody's willing to take that help right away. So that's something that we run into a bit.
Yeah, another big challenge, I think, is the kind of ebb and flow of the news, and obviously unfortunate events that do happen over time. As police, we kind of go with the news cycle as well, even if we're not directly involved. So, the tragedy of the Boston marathon bombing, the next day there was a different feel, a different feel about the community. And, kind of the way we communicated, or the way they communicated to us, and the understanding of us. And then when you have, unfortunate incidents that happen across, even other sides of the country, we see that reflection back upon us the next day as well in the negative light. So, Acton, I'm proud. I'm really proud to be part of Acton Police Department. I think we're just so far ahead of the rest of the country in our training and how we respond to calls. But we feel that energy, whether it's positive or negative, throughout the entire community, and the way that people just kind of interact with us, and I understand, and I do understand that, and how troublesome that can be. And watching someone else go through an incident on, say, the news, it's easy for that person to say, "Well, I look like that person. Could that happen to me?" And I'm very aware of that. And as officers, we continue to train and understand on that kind of awareness, that they don't know where we're coming from either. And that's why we continue, we thank you so much for having us tonight, because people need to understand that, I'm a regular guy. I have 2 daughters and a wife. I mean, I just want to go home to my children too every night. And, safety is always going to be paramount to us. I mean, that's what we're really looking forward to do. We check in, and 8 hours later, if, we've been blessed, we get to go home to our family. And that's what really we're looking to do. But I understand that we get judged upon other actions, even if it's one officer across the country. Whether, that's a challenge. That's a challenge we really face, and I really can feel that in my system when you start to talk and think about it, of how difficult that is to be. But we're going to badge up, and we're going to come in, and we're going to protect this town, regardless of the situation that's going on in the country.
Well, thank you so much, Detective Eracleo and Detective Campbell, for the amazing work you're doing for this community. And I think I speak for a big cross-section of members of our community who really appreciate the services of the Acton Police Department. It's considered one of the safest towns around. So thank you so much. But before I end this session, off duty, who is Mike and who is Keith? That's the fun part.
Go ahead, Mike.
All right. So, like I said, Mike's a pretty funny guy. I try to be. I like to joke. I like to have a good time. I love, as you can see, I love to eat, but I love to cook. I love to hang out with my children. My two daughters dance ballet. In the last 4 years, I've been involved in Nutcracker, and I've danced on stage with them. And I go camping all summer, and that's something I like to do with my family. Like I said, my parents come from another country, and culturally we're all very close to each other, and we all live in the same neighborhood. All my brothers and sisters, even though we moved out of the home, we're still within a quarter mile of each other. So it's just something we really love to do. Officer Mike likes to have a good time, but I hope I'm as approachable as maybe I seem right now. I hope that's true, and continues to be true. And I love dogs. I have two Rottweilers, and I treasure them. They're big, cuddly bears, but that's me in a nutshell.
And now you have Zane in that department.
Yes, and we have Zane, our new therapy dog, who I try to steal away from his handler every time I can to pat him.
All right.
For me, my passions are my family, golf, and hockey, probably in that order. My daughter Daphne and my son Lincoln, she's 9, he's 5. They're a lot of fun and a lot of work, but it's great. And we just got a dog as well. First time I've ever had a dog in my life, so it's been a learning curve. And you know what? The cool thing about this job is I get to work on my passion with the kids, because I'm the golf coach. I'm one of the hockey coaches, so it's a lot of fun. I love spending time outside and taking as much advantage of my time away from work as possible with my family. So,
well, to the both of you, thank you for accepting to be my guests on Whitefield, and a special thanks, of course, to the Acton Police Chief Barrows, for making this happen. I hope my takeaway from our conversation today is that the Acton Police Department, specifically the two of you, have an open door policy, and anyone who really wants to learn more about what the police department is doing in our community and is interested in bridging the gaps that we have in our community, to just walk to you, email you, send messages, so that we can continue this conversation. Is there any contact information that we can give the public right now?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's Eracleo, and I know that's difficult to spell, but that's why I go by Detective Mike. If you ever call the police station at 978-929-7711 and ask for Detective Mike, they can put you through to my line. As far as my email is concerned, which many people like to email, and I think that's a casual way to have a conversation, it's going to be Eracleo, so MERACLEO at actonma.gov.
and I'm also available by email at kcampbell, that's CAMPBELL, at actonma.gov. And also, if you're at the high school, stop on in. My office is right across from the nurses, so I'm there all the time.
Well, thank you, detectives, for the opportunity to have this conversation and share this conversation with the public. I hope it is going to be the start of a series of conversations to bring harmony and cohesion in our community. And I look forward to hosting you again for regular updates about everything in the Acton Police Department.
Thank you
All
so
right,
much.
sounds good. Thanks for having us.
And to our viewers, you can check out our latest episodes at the ActonTV YouTube channel. Thank you for watching Whitefield. Till next time.
So long.